Rabbi Seth Farber.
After having experienced the fractured family, incredible persecution that included hunger, suffering, families separated one from another, the Jewish people finally found a way, if for one moment in their history, to come together, putting aside all the attempts to destroy them from the outside, putting aside all the internal battles that had characterized their history until that moment. All Jews found themselves under one roof. And for a moment, the Jewish people said, let's think about the future. Let's talk about the way we want to live down the road. Of course, I'm talking about not contemporary Israel, but a moment in Jewish history described by the book of Genesis. Following years of suffering and famine and fighting, Joseph manages to bring his brothers and his father under one roof. And for just a moment, Joseph looks at his father as his father is about to die. And he says, I need to know what the future looks like in your vision. And after having been separated for 17 years, at least, from his father, and after having built a family in Egypt, Joseph assembles his two sons for the grand meeting of the dictating of what's going to be. One can only imagine what went through Joseph's mind as he lined up his two sons and he said, you're going to meet your grandfather for the first time, for he maintains that tradition that goes back to Isaac and to Abraham, to the unmediated relationship with God. Joseph walks in with his two sons. He says, Dad, I'm going to introduce you to these two people who represent the future. And Joseph hears two words. Vayar Yisrael et bnei Yosef. Jacob saw the children of Joseph. And he said, Mi ele. Who are these? All the dreams, all the opportunities for a family brought together, shattered in one moment. This country, at this moment in Jewish history, is characterized by mi ele. Who are you? Who are these? 87% of 11th graders in this country say they don't trust the religious authorities in this country. 78% of this country says that it's unconscionable that Jews should only have one choice in the way they get married, through what we call in Israel the Rabbanut. Mi ele, who are you? Maxim and Alina Sardakov are a young couple that the North American Jewish community brought here. Many of you probably stood with me on the mall in 1987. We were screaming, 1, 2, 3, 4, open up the iron door, 5, 6, 7, 8, let our people immigrate. Well, they did. More than 1,100,000 people came on Aliyah from the former Soviet Union. To be sure, it saved Israel demographically, in every sense of the word. And Maxim and Alina came on Aliyah in 1993. They went to the public school number 3 in Ashkelon. They grew up together. By the time they were 16, they were a couple. They joined the IDF together. And when they made that critical decision to get married, Maxim looked at Alina and said, hey, we're going to have a problem here. Because yes, we both came on Aliyah as Jews, but Alina, you know my mother is Jewish, and I know it's just your father who's Jewish. And we know that Rabbanut doesn't accept patrilineal descent, and we know that to be a full part of Israeli society in its current constellation, that means we're going to have to do something not part of the playbook. And in the IDF, Alina applied for Jewish conversion in Israel. She adopted a traditional lifestyle. She became what she perceived to be a full Israeli. And she finished that conversion with a conversion certificate from the chief rabbi of Israel. Maxim's a fighter in the IDF. He's part of field intelligence. He once remarked on national television, you know, he said, looking at the camera, when they dropped me on the other side of the Litani River into the middle of Lebanon, I don't remember then anybody questioning my girlfriend's conversion. But when Maxim and Alina walked into the Rabbanut, when they walked into that organization that the Israeli government charges with marriage in this country, the local rabbi said, hey, Alina, I don't think you're Jewish. She said, what do you mean? I made Aliyah as a Jew. I served in the IDF as a Jew. I converted to Judaism under Orthodox practice. I have a letter from the chief rabbi that says I'm Jewish. And the local chief rabbi just said, Mi Eile, who are you? Who are you? And that story repeats itself over and over and over again. Hundreds of thousands of times. When I founded E-Team some 14 years ago, I identified the problem in this country as one of cognition. People felt disenfranchised. They felt alienated because they simply didn't know enough. They simply weren't aware of the richness of the ennobling factor of Jewish tradition. What I've discovered in the last 14 years is that it's not about cognition. It's about recognition. There isn't enough power in this country right now to enable Jews from different backgrounds, from different orientations, people who have different perspectives, people who want to live Jewishly in different ways, to recognize each other as full Jews. Mi Eile, said Jacob to Joseph. Who are these kids? No doubt Jacob had in his mind something totally different. He was sure that his grandchildren, Joseph's sons, had grown up just like Joseph maybe had grown up. That they were going to look exactly the same. But what did he discover? He discovered two Egyptian kids who had grown up with an Egyptian mother. And he was shocked. It was a slap in the face to him. And of course, it's Joseph. Joseph, the one who grew up in exile. Joseph, the elite not of Jewish society, who knocked some sense into his father. Banaihem. These are my children, says Joseph to Jacob. Asher natan li Elohim bazeh. God has given me these children. The fact that these children don't look the way you thought they were going to look, the fact that Jewish history is unfolded in a way that doesn't exactly fit your narrow, myopic perspective, that was also part of God's plan. The beauty of this moment is not in the fact that you don't identify my children, but in the fact that God doesn't want you to identify my children. Banaihem. These are my children, Asher natan li Elohim bazeh, that God has given me. And of course, Jacob responds, Vayomar, kachem na elai va'avarechem. Jacob says, bring them close to me. Allow me to bless them. My friends, the story in this country, the crisis in this country, the catastrophe in this country, is that Jewish life has become a fabric that blinds one person from recognizing another. It doesn't allow us to see the other and to understand the other, to respect the other, and to love the other. On Wednesday morning, 36 hours from now, I'll be doing something that I've never done before. Over the last 3 weeks, it's become public that that same rabbinate that claims in the name of God to reject people who converted to Judaism from North America. They claim in the name of orthodoxy to reject, in this case, a young woman who has made a strong commitment to being fully part of our people. Wednesday morning, I, along with hundreds of others, will be protesting against that institution that claims that they are the Jacob. I will be standing shoulder to shoulder with people across the denominations to say, recognize us, or you have no justification at all for claiming to speak in the name of the Lord. The crisis of recognition is an opportunity for recognition. In Maxim and Alina's case, we sued the rabbinate. We took them to the Supreme Court, and we demanded in the name of democracy that Alina be recognized. And in the end, when someone doesn't recognize you, you can either force them to recognize you, or you can simply put them away. And sometimes I live thinking there is no room for this at all. And then I remember Jacob's words to Joseph. I remember Jacob saying, I made a mistake. I didn't realize. I didn't understand the beauty of this. Kachem na elai va'avarechem. Bring them close to me, for they are worthy of blessing. Our country, our people, this place is a place that has brought Jews together after suffering, after famine, after attacks from without and attacks from within. The core challenge is a challenge of recognition. And the opportunity exists for all of us to recognize each other. Thank you.